This is ESBR Boxing. I'm delighted to be joined by Elliot Stott again for a weekly preview. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever way you see it, this is the last preview show that we're going to be doing of the year. Obviously, Christmas coming up and the new year, not a lot of boxing at all. On UK tours anyway. The next one after this, the big one, will be Liam Smith, Chris Eubank Jr. But for the meantime now, yes, we do still have one more weekend of boxing action to look forward to. In the UK, we've got the Bournemouth show, we've got some worldwide boxing as well. So yeah, the last one of the year. Elliot, how are you? You feeling all right?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, mate. All good. Bit of a strange one. I remember I was at the last Bournemouth show in person, which was in July, and got badly sunburnt and had a really good time. And slightly different vibes this time, I think. Conversely, it's snowing at the moment, and yeah, won't be getting nobody will be getting sunburnt in Bournemouth this week. But yeah, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to discussing some fights.
Yeah, absolutely. So with as always with these weekly previews, unless we've got a bumper weekend, we talk about a main event, an undercard fight, and then one that's perhaps gone under the radar. So yeah, well, without further ado, I suppose we may get cracking on with it. So yeah, we'll start with the main event, as you mentioned there in Bournemouth, and it's the Bournemouth man himself, Chris Smith, is headlining at the Bournemouth International Centre again against Armin Zhao, I think you pronounce his name. Um, Hopefully I didn't butcher that too badly, but everyone knows who we're talking about. The man fighting Chris Smith. This is a cruiserweight contest. Smith, 16-1. He's 11 stoppages in those 16 wins. And you look at his opponent, he's 14-2, with half of his wins coming by way of knockout. Um, Smith is 4 years older. He's a little bit taller as well. But and obviously, for UK fans, we know far more about Chris Smith. He has some good wins. That fight with Isaac Chamberlain is one of the fights of the year. I think we were talking about some of the fights perhaps that's been to be fight of the year, and that could be up there. Definitely in the UK anyway. But yeah, this fight is, I'd say, for Billum Smith fans, and it's maybe a bit disappointing. However, is it just a keep busy fight? With world title aspirations in 2023 for the gentleman. So yeah, I'll throw it back to you, Elliot. Just kind of want to ask you, do you see this being a routine win or a routine knockout win for Chris Smith? If so, does he get a title shot next year? And who does he have the best chance of beating on the world stage?
Hmm. Good questions. I think this is a keep busy fight. It's not like this guy's not going to turn over. He's not crap. He's not rubbish. He's a decent fighter, but Chris Smith should be stopping this guy, in my opinion, in the first half of the fight. It's the Isaac Chamberlain fight was a tougher fight than this. The Tommy McCarthy rematch was a tougher fight than this. So yeah, I think that's the plan here. It's good for him to get out before the end of the year. And yeah, the rumours are that he's going to be in position to fight for a world title next year. And I think he's deserved that. He's earned that. He's had some tough fights, picked up a lot of titles along the way. So yeah, I really hope that happens. That happens for William Smith. Um, I've not really heard any rumours in terms of who he would fight. Obviously Lawrence Okoye's his stablemate, so I don't think he's going to fight him. Um, there's the Frenchman, Arsene. I'm not going to try and say his name. The Frenchman who fought
Yeah, I know
recently, who's
Goulamarian or
undefeated.
something. Yeah, I know who you're talking
Ulamarian,
about.
yeah, sorry. There's Makabu, both tough fights for Chris Smith. There's the guy who beat Marius Bradis, Jai Opatia. I think it's not on a roll here, aren't we? So I think that those are all tough fights for Chris Smith. If I'm being honest with you, I've seen things in the Isaac Chamberlain fight, the first Tommy McCarthy fight, when I'm like at world level, I'm not sure he gets away with that. So yeah, I think it would be a big task if he does fight for a world title to win. But all the best to him. He's kind of done it the hard way. Um, and yeah, we'll see. But no, I do expect him to come through Saturday night fairly easily, if I'm being honest. And then fingers crossed. Kind of Ben Shalom's got something up his sleeve, and we can see William Smith fight for a world title in the first half of 2023.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. I completely agree. I think it's fair to say, I think Bill Smith, you know what, he's been the European champion and stuff. He does deserve a world title shot. Whether or not he does win that, as you mentioned there, the champions, it's a pretty tough division. But it's not like it's a division where one man holds all the marbles or anything. There's a few different opportunities out there. Obviously, Gilmarian fought recently. Opataya hasn't fought since the Breeders' fight, and Makabu hasn't fought in a few months too. So, I think if they offer, someone like Makabu, who's obviously come over and he's fought in the UK before when Tony Bellew fought him, so I'm sure he would maybe be open to it, and he would see Billum Smith as probably, from Makabu's point of view, not too difficult of a world title
Mm.
defense. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think if Billum Smith doesn't win in the first half of the fight, he might have underperformed slightly. This fella's two losses, he's lost by knockout both times as well. So yeah, I agree. I think this is more of a keep busy fight for Billum Smith, and just to stay active, and hopefully he gets a shot, in March or April of next year. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. No, we
Definitely.
will. We will see. But looking forward to Saturday night. There is a fight that is arguably more intriguing on the undercard. Dan Aziz will defend his British title, as well as the Commonwealth title is on the line, which Dan Aziz doesn't currently hold, against former world champion Rocky Fielding. It feel it's interesting because they're not too dissimilar in age. These two fighters, I think there's only a couple of years in age difference there. However, it feels Dan Aziz is very much like in his prime now, looks very good now, whereas Rocky Fielding fought Canelo Alvarez in 2018, and I'm not convinced he's done an awful lot since then, to be honest with you. And I feel like, I don't know, it's an interesting fight, and it kind of depends how much Rocky Fielding has left. And we'll see. We'll see on this one. I just feel like if you consider how good Dan Aziz has looked recently, and the fact Rocky Fielding has kind of fought not great fighters and been quite inactive, I can personally only see this going one way. But I'll interested to hear your opinion as well.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there again, Elliot. I do agree that although Rocky Fielding is, it's a big name, everyone knows who he is. Obviously, he was former world champion, beating Tyron Zoiga, albeit the regular belt, but that's a discussion for another day. Then obviously, the big Canelo fight. And if you look at Fielding's record, yes, he has two defeats, both by knockout, but that's against Callum Smith and against Canelo. So there's no disgrace in that at all to world class operators. I think the thing said there that I agree with the most is the fact that since that Canelo fight, which I believe was in 2018, he's had four fights or so since then, fielding against really limited opposition. So he had a 2 year. Did he not retire or something for a year and a half, 2 years or something? I don't know if he officially did retire, but he
Mm,
he wasn't boxing or anything anyway. He was just living off that Canelo money.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I agree with you. I can only see this fight going one way. You look at Don Aziz, and even just in his last three fights, he's fought Shakan Pitters, Reece Cartwright, and Jose Burton when he won the British title. I think that Dan Aziz has looked almost perfect in recent times anyway. Far more active. And I agree with you. I can kind of only see this going one way. But obviously then, Rocky Fielding, yes, he hasn't been as active and it hasn't fought the level of opposition as perhaps Aziz has recently. But he had done before, albeit 5 years ago, whatever. He's fought Callum Smith and Canelo, albeit um on the wrong side of the defeat there. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this fight. I think name wise, Rocky Fielding is a big name. Probably one of the biggest names Dan Aziz would have on his record if he won. But I do expect Dan Aziz to come through this with flying colours.
Yeah, I think so. I'm predicting a knockout here. Um, I admit knockout in rounds kind of 5 to 8 would be my prediction. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Rocket, look, it's a good name to have on Dan Aziz's record, but no, he kind of has to. The form he's in now, he kind of has to keep on winning. And if he does, it's great. I've seen Dan Aziz come from Southern area level at York Hall to now fighting on the big stage, and yeah, I'm really excited to see how far he can go. So yeah, looking forward to that one in Bournemouth on Saturday night.
Yeah, for sure, me too. Last but not least, of course, we look at our under the radar fight. And I know we were discussing there's a few different fights going around on around the world. There's a card in Vegas which has a decent enough show. But for the fight that we have picked, it's the big heavyweights. We've gone for Lucas Bryan against Manuel or Mahmoud Char, whatever you want to call him. Obviously Char was the man thinking that he was going to get the Fury fight when the
Oh yeah,
whole Joshua Fury discussion was ongoing, so everyone knows who he is. And Lucas Bryan, of course, Mr. Juicy himself, everyone knows who he is too. But I'll just give you a quick rundown of kind of their records and how I think the fight perhaps may go. Char, 38 years old, and he's 33 and 4, 19 stoppage victories, four defeats. Of his four defeats, three have come by knockout. Brown is 31 and 3, 27 wins by knockout. So, the knockouts and the power will kind of favors Brown here. I think it's probably a bigger puncher than Char. But again, Brown's all of three of his defeats have been stoppages. Um, so, but you look at Lucas Brown last time out, and he knocked out Junior Fa in one round. Junior Fa obviously gave Joseph Parker absolute nightmares. When the pair fought, and, people do think Joseph Parker is a fringe world level fighter, so that's a decent win to have on your record. But then you look at his defeats. First defeat was to Dylan White for Lucas Bryan. Then he got stopped by none other than the White Rhino, Dave Allen. And he's also been stopped by Paul Gallen. So you look and it's quite odd, and you think, how are you getting stopped by the likes of Dave Allen and Paul Gallen? And then knocking out Junior Fa at 43 years old now. But you make your own decisions on that. Charles has four defeats come to Mars Briedis, Johan Dupas, Alexander Povetkin, and of course Vitaly Klitschko. Briedis, Povetkin, and Klitschko were the three to stop him. So yeah. My question for you, Elliot, would be: I don't know if you've looked at betting odds or anything yet, but if you haven't, who would you make the favorite in this fight?
oh man,
And do you think this will be, does it end in knockout this fight? I personally, I have no idea what way this is going to go.
yeah. I don't know. Lucas Brown's kind of form, up and down form, is quite strange. And Manuel Chart, like people might criticize him. I know he's been incredibly inactive for whatever for in the last 3 or 4 years. But he's not done an awful lot wrong in his career. He's lost against good fighters. Um, but at the same time, like, has he looked great his last 2, 3 fights? Not really. So I don't really know what to expect. If I'm being honest, it's the sort of fight I will believe it's going to happen when the first bell goes. You're expecting someone to fail a drugs test or someone not to be allowed in Dubai or something like that. Who's the favorite in this fight? I would slide with Manuel Char personally. He is young. He is 5 years younger. Lucas Brown is a bit unpredictable. He's like losing to Paul Gallen, then beating Junior Farr. Like, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to do next. I don't know. I am looking forward to it in the sense that I don't know what's going to happen. In the same way, he's just like it's just so unpredictable. I feel like with Lucas Brown, the fact he is still fighting at 43 is a bit worrying. You get fighters fighting at the age of kind of 39, 40, but 43 not so much. So yeah, I don't really know what to expect, but I would have Manuel Char as the favorite in this fight personally. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree. That's slightly got a favourite Char. I think what you said there about, yes, Char has lost four times, but against all of them are quality opposition. The inactivity does worry me.
Mm.
Um, but I think just looking at it in the sense that he's 5 years younger, he is fresher. Brown has lost to substandard opposition. I think it's fair to say compared to the likes of Manuel Char. But then he also has big wins against the likes of Junior Fa last time out in round one. But then again, did he just catch him cold? Is he juicing? I'm not being serious. I'm not going to go into it, but he's 43 years old. There's been a bit of a question mark over it before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not too sure. If I know that I know we could probably talk about this in the betting show, but if I was to give you £10 and I said you had to put it on Char points, Char knockout, Brown points, or Brown knockout, what would you pick?
Um, it is a tricky one, but I would edge I would edge towards Char knockout. But the tricky one is Char. He's fought limit. Yeah, like his last couple of fights, he fought, what's his name, Christopher Lovejoy, who is an interesting character. So I just think at least Lucas Brown has kind of come up against a name in Junior Far, but that's where my thoughts are. To be honest, that's where my thoughts are, and we'll see. I mean, like, I'm interested to see what happens next as well. Wasn't Lucas Brown linked with fighting somebody in the UK, but then wasn't let into the UK, or not wasn't
Was it
allowed to
Dubois?
fight in the UK? That's the
Was
one.
it
Yeah.
Dubois?
So it's kind of like pointless saying, "Oh, where does the winner go?" When kind of if Lucas Brown wins, he can't fight any of our guys. So it's a bit of a strange one in that sense. So we'll see. We'll see kind of what happens, and I'm interested to see what because both of them are names, and both of them could potentially have a fight of some magnitude. So the winner could have a fight of some magnitude, potentially. Um, but yeah, we will see. It's a strange one. It's a real strange one.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it, but I agree with you. I do believe that this fight isn't in my head isn't happening until the first bell goes. Something could come up, but yeah, that's that as always. That's everything that we're going to cover this week. Kind of slowing down into the end of the year, as we said. Not a lot of boxing coming up, so not as much content, but obviously still be able to check out our other previews. We've got going to have a betting show probably as well as all of our other. We've got lots of interviews on our channel with various different fighters and as a little bit of other content too. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Elliot, thanks for joining me, and hopefully this weekend in Bournemouth and the Char Brown fight gives us some good action.
Cheers, Bill. All the best.